Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to track which blog posts actually drive revenue for your business using simple analytics. If you've ever wondered what content is worth making more of, this video is for you. By the end of this video, you'll understand how to track blog post reading behavior, how to connect blog post traffic to actual conversions, and how to analyze which content actually drives revenue for your business. So let's dive in. So I've created this simple blog post example, and we're going to learn how to understand which blog posts the users are reading, how far they're actually scrolling through this blog post, and finally, whether they actually click our call to action to sign up for a free trial in this instance, and which blog post they actually did that from. In other words, which one converted them from readers or visitors into customers. So before we get started with anything, we of course need to install Simple Analytics on our website. If you don't have that already, you just go to the dashboard here, click on Add a Website, type in your domain name, and just grab this script right here. So now we're in this blog post code. I'll scroll all the way down to just before the end of the body tag. You can see I have my script here. Another thing that we're going to need is the events tracking script. So at the top here of our file, before we close this header section, you just want to paste this simple little script. So the reason why we defined it at the top is so that we're not missing out on any events that are happening before the entire page is actually fully loaded. And of course, you can find exactly what to paste in the description. Okay, so we have our simple analytics script and we have our event script defined. We can now start tracking events. So now back on the blog post, of course, when the user now clicks on this and reads it, that sends an analytic event that says that they've read this, 7 ways our platform, blah, blah, blah. We can now see that we have one visitor, reading this. But let's say we want to understand, how far they're actually getting through this. So to do that, let's go back over to our code now. So in the code here, I've defined this event listener. All this is doing is waiting for all of the content to have actually loaded. Of course, if we want to know how far they've scrolled through the page, we can't do that before the page is actually present. So we know that if they're so far down the page, then that's 50% of the actual total page. For that to work, we need the whole page to have loaded, essentially. So when the content loads, we define this function. Let me collapse this to make it a little more easy to understand. So when the content loads, we define this, and then we add an event listener, so it's such that every time they scroll, we call this reading progress function. In this function, we're interested in the current scroll position, the height of the window, the height of the total document, and then the total amount that they've scrolled as a percentage. So the way this works is I have a couple of different if statements. So if they've scrolled more than 25% and we don't have this variable essentially on the window tracking that, then we set it to be true. They have scrolled past that 25% marker. And then what we do is then we fire this window.sa event. So this is what's defined by the events tracking script at the top. We can now call this window.sa event. And we just wrap this in an if statement because there is the off chance that it hasn't loaded. We've kind of made sure of that, but just so that we don't have the whole page crashing, we just check that. Another thing that you can do instead is we could get rid of that and we could just do a question mark and a dot, and that will only call this function SA event if it's actually defined. It's not going to break your whole page. So we call SA event and we give it this name blog_red_25%. And importantly, of course, we send the blog ID. So whatever blog post that we're on at the moment, I'm calling this case study ABC. We of course want to make sure that we send that with it so you know which blog post they're scrolling down. And pretty simple, we just do that again for 50%, for 75%, as well as 90% of the way through. So the way that this would look in the actual dashboard, if I go to my website, and then events. I don't have an example to show this, but this would have a bunch of events. Scroll 25, scroll 50 or whatever for all your different blog posts. And of course you can filter these, you can download these, put these in Excel and understand more about which blog posts are interesting to read and which ones are getting ignored. And then finally, to understand whether this blog post is actually converting that visitor into a customer, what I've done is at the bottom of this blog post, I have this call to action and it's just got this start your free trial button. What we want to do is when they click that, we want to send an event that says that someone on this blog post, case study ABC, clicked start your free trial and make sure that event is captured. So the way I've done that is I've just got this blog-CTA ID. And all I do is add an event listener on that blog-CTA. And I just call again, window SA event, and I give it a new name here, blog CTA call to action click. and I just give that blog ID as well as the blog title. So now as users are reading these blog posts and they're interacting with them, we're getting more and more data about which ones are doing well, which ones are getting read, and which ones are converting. And the insights from having this on your page is invaluable. You might find that some of your most read blog posts are rarely converting, and some of your least read are driving a bunch of new customers. And this will help you make much better data-driven decisions about which content to create more of, how to optimize underperforming but high potential content, and of course, where to focus your marketing budget. And so that's it. You now know how to track which blog posts actually drive revenue for your business. I hope you found this helpful. If you need any help at all, please go ahead and drop a comment. Thanks for watching.